Hello, exiles. Once again, it is very late and I can't sleep, so I decided I would get a video going on something I've been looking into to boost the single target potential of the Kitava's Thirst version of Detonate Dead of Chaining, and this is what I've come up with. This is actually something I believe someone in the community has brought up already once, which, right, I just went and looked it up because I'm being lazy and I shouldn't. It was Hankman9 who was ahead of the curve, kind of in my head before I'd even gotten it out. Very simple combo that potentially boosts the damage actually even more than I had considered. So here we are in League, just starting. Here's that wonderful League mechanic interface, which I've seen on Reddit people are very excited about. They really enjoy this, and they especially love how you can't opt out of it and how rewarding it is. But this video isn't about that. Maybe I should make one about it. I'm level 89. This is a tier 11 map. It's rare and corrupted. I haven't forgotten anything. Here's Betrayal, because obviously I was farming things. So obviously I'm not using the new tech right now. This is just the build as it normally plays. But with a couple buttons, suddenly, where did that asshole just go? Well, we'll get back to that in a moment. So right now I'm just kind of running around the map looking for a potential victim, test subject. I was hoping this red beast would do it, but he's actually dying pretty quickly. I guess I'll get to the map boss and give that a crack, because I'm having a hard time finding enough enemy with the HP to show this off, believe it or not. The nice thing about this tech is it's more than just an opportunity to get stronger corpses into the mix. It actually does a whole lot more than that, and I want to explain it in a way that's easy to understand. But in order to do that, we're going to have to get out the calculator because there's some math involved. Basically, what's happening is we cast fully spun up about 12 times a second. At least that's what I clocked myself doing earlier. I believe it got to 11.9 while I was in hideout. Holy. Angry. That's really good. 12 times a second is great. That's about 6 procs, I believe, on average, with our 50% rate going the way it does. Potentially we could get up to 10. The thing is, getting up to 10 has never really been that big of an interest for me, because at a certain point, your Detonate Deads of Chaining are consuming 8 corpses per proc, and we're only creating 5 corpses per cast. You might see where this is going now. Having the Arcanist brand activate, repeatedly spell cascading a bunch of Desecrates is putting way more corpses into the mix, and even with suboptimal corpses, that's a lot of DPS we were kind of losing out on before. The build has not been dying very much, despite the fact that somehow this league is kind of secretly being more rippy than the last one, which is really not a great sign, I'm gonna be honest, because it's definitely not as rewarding. All that said, my single target shouldn't be as good, specifically because in Wildwood we had access to a lot of extra corpse scaling. The thing is, it definitely is as good, if not better, because of this new tech. Like, a lot. Even though I don't have that corpse scaling, and honestly, even though my gear is just hot dog water. I'm kind of shocked by what this is doing. The ceiling might be much, much higher this league, purely because I underestimated what this would do for the build last league. But let's explain how it works, because obviously if you're playing the build, you're going to want to know now that I've said that. So here I am with a inventory full of loot. Very simply, we have Arcanist brand, we have Spell Cascade, we have Desecrate. We're able to fit these because, well, we have tons and tons of socket space, actually. It's kind of always been a thing about the build where I'm trying to figure out what to do with these, and now I know. Generally speaking, quality would help a lot on the activation brand and Desecrate because we want them going off as quickly as possible. But the cast speed's not that important because you don't really think of brands normally when you're scaling corpses with Necromancer, but the cast speed bonus that I'm getting is happening, right? It's happening globally to my character, which means it is affecting the proc rate of the brand because it scales with cast speed. Now, the actual tech here, I'm going to put a link in the description to a video that talks about it a lot better, but basically what's happening is I have a Spectre gem, which doesn't actually have to be equipped. I'm just still leveling it up because I want to have more maximum specters to make this even more effective. We'll talk about that as well. What's happening is I'm using a Spectre gem to influence the pool of corpses in my Desecrate. So, ooh, that would be bad. I don't want to do that. Where can I put this? All right, sorry, clear oil.
I'm sorry, little one.
Basically, when I use this, you can see I have Auric Champions, and there should also be, there we go, Kitava Heralds in there, because I only have 2 specters, but that's influencing the corpses that spawn, and generally 15% of the corpses will always be your spectered corpses, and then from the remaining, what is that, 85%, it pulls from the pool of mobs. When you add more and more specters into your like count and the variety, that actually joins the total pool, so the chance that that other 85% is one of the good corpses goes up, and that's where the DPS can get really silly if you super invest into this. I don't actually have to have Spectre socketed anymore for it to have this behavior though. That's the thing. Taking it off real quick, it's still doing it. You don't have to have it on, so if you can find for just a moment to get all those specters active and establish your desecrate like specter bank, whatever you want to call it, you will have those corpses coming in. And you can see actually on this one I got a ton of big corpses in here, so triggering these would be very good. That would be a lot of extra damage. And there, it's gone. It got eaten. Just bonus. It's free stuff. And when you spin up a lot, the extra damage that you're dealing goes way up through the roof because of that weird kind of interaction where Unearth doesn't actually produce enough corpses or Detonate Dead of Chain Reaction to consume once it really gets going. But with this Desecrate introduced as well, that ceiling just boosts. So even in situations like where you're fighting Ubers, potentially, like that's, I'm really going far with that, but potentially, yes, Ubers might be on the table for this build now because we're kind of stealing the tech of the Detonate Dead builds that do it better, or have done it better. I highly doubt we're going to surpass them in single target because that is definitely where they should beat us, but we're definitely going to start giving them a run for their money now, and that's pretty cool. Honestly, I'm really excited for it. I hope you are too, especially if you're playing the build. You're probably enjoying it and wondering what a lot of the complaining on Reddit is like if you've been following the guide well, because having things like reduced extra damage from crits and what is my block right now? 55-62% is really making the difference as I'm getting into red maps. The league is nuts. It's very difficult right now, but we're getting through it. I hope you're getting through it. If you're not, feel free to drop a comment on this video and like mention where you're having an issue, because there's probably a simple solution to it. If you are in higher red tier maps, be very careful with that league mechanic, because all it takes is additional projectiles on the wrong mob or a certain damage penetration on the wrong mob, and suddenly they're hitting you harder than the map bosses. And it like the map bosses slam is what I should say. They're hitting you harder than the map bosses slam. Really invest in that like crit reduction. I've got the mod on my shield here. I'm probably going to anoint this, which is unfortunate because it costs a gold oil, or if I get a windfall for the cash, I could go for the Watcher's Eye, which is another option, the one that works with determination. But yeah, I'm enjoying the league. I hope you are too. The DPS concerns for single target are gone. I have a feeling that this build is going to farm pinnacles this league. It probably would have farmed them much better last league with all the Wildwood stuff, but I didn't think to test this, and I didn't play long enough. Hopefully I play long enough in this league to really learn it, because this mechanic's a bit rough. I'm having fun, but also I kind of wish I could just turn it off. And I can't, and it's making the game harder. And I can only imagine what that's doing to people who are playing other kinds of builds that don't maybe handle it as well as this one has been. So have a good one, Exiles, and hopefully that Monday patch comes soon and spruces up the league mechanic a bit.